That's why you're wearing a cap. Now, that was an amazing post this week of your paddles that you made for Richard Branson. How did that come about?
Well, this is a good story. Of course, just between us.
Did I tell you I'm recording this?
Don't tell anybody else. Just before they picked up their new cruise ship in Italy, a woman who wanted to get Sir Richard Branson a gift, kind of a celebratory gift, because he played pickleball. She wanted to give him a paddle with a logo on it. And so we were introduced through her brother. And we did some work and we got the paddle all set. And when the ship arrived in New York in March of this year, I shipped, as we had arranged, the paddles to New York, and she, I think, presented them to him. But because of the timing and COVID and everything else, I didn't want to say anything about it. You know, they just picked up their first cruise ship in Italy and left Italy, you know, and she was having terrible time with COVID. And so it wasn't just till recently I felt that I could put it out there. So
right.
There's the story behind it.
Yeah, very good story. We'll have to find out if he's in England, you know, when we have our next tournament, and invite him to come use his tap paddles.
You can have a celebrity bracket or some type of celebrity exhibition and let your players pay to play with.
Yeah. No, you're
Karen,
right.
I think that's a great idea. I know a couple of people that might qualify that. I mean, with the exception of all of us, you know.
Yep. It's a great fundraiser for your charity.
Yeah, definitely. Great. So,
Melissa,
what's the time now? It is 5 after. Should we get started and people will just join in?
that would be great.
Roberto, it's your show.
Yeah, well, it's our show. It's today is probably is it fair to say it's Karen and Melissa show? So well, first of all, thank you so much to you both for joining us today, for accepting our invite. We, as Elaine will mention earlier, so we've been this group was created just when lockdown started here in the UK, so in March. Initially, the group started. It was a Bainbridge Cup group that started as a forum to keep in touch, you know, during these unique times we're living, and to checking in and chat about, you know, how we're doing, you know, anything we're doing, just keep in touch. And we thought it was really important to do that. And then it was Sarah's idea to one day she suggested to invite a pro player so we could have understand a bit more about, you know, the story, their background, you know, any sort of lessons learned, you know, anything interesting they would share with us. And then so Ben and Colin Johns were the first guests we had, and then since then we've had several other pro players. I think we've had 15 or 16 pro players, and today we thought, you know, let's do something a little bit different. You know, why not inviting you know, Karen and Melissa who have you know, you've been organizing the biggest tournaments, you know, like the nationals and lots of different tournaments. So so we thought, you know, we'd like to hear from you. What is it like to organize a big tournament like the nationals or other tournaments? Any lessons you've learned you want to share with us, or just everything about you, and, you know, how you're doing, and tell us more, and what would like to share with us. It's we're very, very interested to know a bit more.
Okay, well, I'll start. So my name is Karen Parrish. I've been with USAPA, oh my gosh, since I think it was 2014 now, maybe 2013. And I started off applying to be an ambassador in my area, but lo and behold, the lady who was the regional director at the time decided that she wanted to resign. So they were like, no, we're just going to make you the regional director. And I'm like, what do I have to do? They're like, oh, you just have to stay in contact with your ambassadors and put out a monthly newsletter and stuff like that. I was like, okay, no problem. Oh, by the way, now you got to throw a regional tournament. Okay. Well, thank God for Melissa, because she was there for my first regional tournament, and I could not have done it without her. And her brother Greg was there, and the pickleball tournaments team, they were just fantastic. So we've kind of grown into this together. Our home office is actually in Arizona, but I live in Florida. I live up in the Northwest, up in the panhandle of Florida. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's called Destin. And so that is my hometown. And, you know, I travel to tournaments, not as much as Melissa does, because she's all over with pickleball tournaments. But, you know, I started off with running local tournaments here, just getting people involved, introducing them to the game through fun play, round robins, you know, age-only events, skill-only events, just trying to get everybody involved. And then it morphed from there. It went from that and throw in the regional tournament, which was a lot of fun. I believe I was the first one to say, okay, we're going to move the regional tournaments from just being in one place every year. So in our regions, we have so many states in our region. So in order to build that base, you want to move that regional tournament because one, you want to show support for your other states or your other areas, as well as bring those ambassadors in, get them trained, get referees in those areas and bring them up to speed, right? So that's just going to help you grow pickleball in all of these different areas. So after being a regional director for a while, I was like, you know what, I'm going to pull back for a little bit. I'm just going to be an ambassador here in my area because I've had so much going on here in my hometown. And after 6 months, a very good friend of mine, she reached out to me and she said, the position of managing director of competition is open. You need to apply for it. I was like, I'm not sure. 2 weeks later, she sent me another email. If you don't apply for this position, I'm going to find you. I said, okay, I'll apply for the position.
It wasn't a voluntary position then. It wasn't voluntary.
So 5 months later, I fell into it, and I've been very blessed ever since. As far as throwing a national tournament, a regional tournament, or anything like that, you have to surround yourself with a fantastic team, right? So you've got to surround yourself with a volunteer coordinator, a referee coordinator. You have to surround yourself with, you know, whoever is on the ground, whoever lives in that area, right? So you surround yourself with a team and let them do what they're fantastic at. If you have someone that's great at doing, you know, video promotion or flyers or, you know, social media, set up a social media page for your tournament and let them run with it. And well, first and foremost, you need to get with Melissa to ensure that you have pickleball tournaments running your tournament. That much I can promise you. You know, it's been a fantastic ride, and I look forward to just, you know, more and more tournaments coming on board as we get back from COVID. It was heartbreaking to not be at Indian Wells again this year. But it was for everyone's safety. So you've seen the majority of the big tournaments, they all canceled because one, you have to look out for not only the players, but your tournament staff, which includes your volunteers, your staff, people traveling in, they don't want to travel and it's understandable. So if you're going to throw a tournament, you want to throw a top-notch tournament. And, you know, it was hard to cancel, but we did. So looking forward to 2021.
Great, and hopefully we some of us or all of us can be there next year, so we can have fun with you and meet you two in person.
I'd love that.
Whose dogs is it that we can hear barking?
Those are mine.
Oh, as long as it's yours, that's fine.
All right.
What sort of dogs have you got then? What sort of dogs?
No, I have a mate. I have like right now we have a tropical disturbance going on out in the Gulf.
Oh.
We have feeder bands that feed up, so we have these thunderstorms that pop up, and they do not like thunderstorms, so they're going crazy.
Oh.
If you don't have questions for me, I'm going to mute, so you don't have to do that.
What sort of dogs are they before you mute?
Oh my gosh. I have a Corgi mix, and I have 3 Dachshunds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
They keep me busy.
Yeah, poor dogs.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions for me? I'm happy to answer.
Well, you've answered the first one that I sent, which was how you got involved in the Nationals, and what you've been involved with previously. And in fact, actually, I think you've talked about your top 5 lists as well. Have you done everything in one go?
All right, Melissa, all of you girls.
You are incredible, Karen. I thought that might keep you going half an hour.
Let's get it going.
Melissa, how are you going to follow that?
Listen, Karen's been hard to follow for ever since I've known her. So, I met her about 2 weeks after I purchased pickleballtournaments.com. She was running a tournament there in her hometown in Destin. And I knew from that first meeting, I was meeting somebody pretty special in Karen. And, that's been 6 years ago. And so it's been a wonderful ride, certainly with her. And I couldn't be more pleased with her and her director of competition role for USA Pickleball. And we got a lot more stuff to do. COVID slowed us down a bit, but, we're working behind the scenes as best we can to prepare when that competition starts to explode again and people are out ready to compete. So I'm excited about that.
Right, USA Pickleball, you got that down already.
I know. I don't know if you noticed, but I paused just a little bit. USA Pickleball. Yeah. So if you guys saw the launch of the new brand, that happened just on the 22nd, so not long ago. So I've been working on that. But unless you guys have questions for Karen, I can jump into the outline that you guys gave me as well.
Well, I just wanted to ask quickly, because Melissa, I know you're also a very good competitor, but Karen, can you tell us a little bit about yourself as a competitor?
Okay, so I have no tennis background or racket background or anything like that. I came from competitive softball. And if you guys remember the movie A League of Their Own.
Yeah.
When I lived in Central Florida, when that movie came out, we actually started a women's professional baseball league, which I played for 3 years. So that's been my background for many, many years, is being on the ball field. Oh. And I was working at our local community center and heard this strange noise going on in the back. And I was like, what is that? So lo and behold, I was right there, became addicted, started playing. And I was right at a 4-5 level before I took the job. I'm kind of between 4-0, 4-5. I don't get to play as much as I used to. And I'm certainly okay with that. I am a behind the scenes type of person. Just let me go to work. And that's what I love to do. I love to play. I like to play rec games. I'm competitive. I can be extremely competitive.
Yeah.
Last year at the Las Vegas Open, my female partner and I, we won the Golden 4-0 women's doubles. So that was a lot of fun. Loved that tournament. But yeah, I float between a 4-0, 4-5, and I honestly like to play those pickup games. Once I get put out of the tournament, those tend to be a lot of fun.
For me, I stopped being able to compete a little over 2 years ago because the world in serving pickleball tournaments just became way too much to allow time on the court. But before that happened, I had achieved a 5-0 level, which I still maintain today. And one of my claims to fame that I tell everybody, and this, I got to tell you guys, I had not picked up my paddle in 2 months when this occurred. And it was April of 2015. And in one day, I had wins against Sarah Ansberry, Gigi LeMaster, Laura Fenton Cavanda, Mona Burnett, who Mona went on that same year in November to win 5 events, all 5 events that she registered for in the national tournament. Cookie Drake, Yoda Friedenberg, and so it was a Cinderella day for me.
Oh, wow.
Big day.
It wasn't until I came up against Kyle Yates and Stephanie Lane that my reign, for the day had ended. But it ended with a bronze medal that day, so I was pretty happy. Yeah, so, and people ask me now, do I miss competing? The answer for that for me is not so much. I get an opportunity. For those of you that don't know the role that I play, I am the president of pickleballtournaments.com, and I have the pleasure and privilege for the last 6 years to go all around the world, actually, to help people run and put on tournaments. So I enjoy that so much. I have such a passion for it that I tell people at the tournament desk, I get an opportunity to win a gold medal every single time. And I feel like me and my team win that gold medal every time. And as a competitor, I know I'm not going to win that gold medal, but I want to. I'm a fierce competitor too. And so when I don't get it, it's like, I'm frustrated. But running tournaments, I can always win the gold. It's a challenge. The more that we have the bigger the better, for the tournaments. For me, pickleball was introduced to me in my driveway in 2007 during Christmas time. And a relative of mine brought a pickleball set to us, and so we played in the driveway like for hours and hours and hours. And in 2009, I worked for a corporation called Electronic Data Systems. And if you guys are familiar with the gentleman named Ross Perot, who was a big businessman in the Americas, it was his company. And so in working with his company, I got transferred to Phoenix, Arizona. And when I was in Phoenix, Arizona, I was playing tennis, and a girl on my team said something about her dad being a national pickleball champion. And I said, what? I said, wait a minute. No one else knows what pickleball is but me and my family that we play in my driveway, right? And she said, oh yeah, Melissa, you got to check it out. It's this big thing that happens out here in Surprise, Arizona. And every year in November, they have this national tournament. And she should check it out. So I went out and checked it out, and I couldn't believe it. There were active adult communities, one after another out here in Surprise. And all these people were playing pickleball on real pickleball courts, not the chalked courts with, temporary nets and stuff. And so, believe it or not, I called my mom. We're from Texas originally. I called my mom back in Texas, and I said, Mom, you're not going to believe what I'm seeing out here. I said, you and my dad got to come check this out. So they flew from Texas to Arizona, checked out what was going on with pickleball, and they went home and put their house up for sale.
Wow.
Yeah, they did, after living in Texas for over 40 years. So they come out, and when they come out, my mom gets pretty involved in pickleball. Me, not so much. I was working 100 hours at least a week. I was now, I had transferred with EDS. EDS was bought by Hewlett Packard. I didn't care for the culture of Hewlett Packard, so I go on to work for American Express. And in that role, I was running the global infrastructure for both voice and data. So I didn't have a lot of time for pickleball, but my mom needed a partner to play. This was April of 2014. She needed a partner to play in a tournament, and her partner had gone on a cruise. So I said, okay, I'll play. And keep in mind, I haven't played much pickleball. We entered at the 4.0 level, and we got a silver medal that day. And I remember the tournament director giving us the medals, and as he gave them to us, he goes, your mom usually wins gold. I said, ouch, ouch, ouch. So in that, though, some of her friends, asked her if I'd be willing to come out on a Sunday and play with them in one of their ladies get-togethers on Sunday. So I went out on a Sunday. It was May the 14th. I'll never forget it, 2014. And a lady there named Jetty Lanius asked me about my background. You know, I had a technology background, and you know, my brother and I at the time were looking to get something involved in pickleball. We didn't really know what. And she goes, well, my husband and I have this software program called pickleballtournaments.com. So she goes, we built it as a hobby. It's now becoming a business. She says that we don't want to run a business. We're retired. And so she asked me if we would be interested in looking at it. So my brother and I started evaluating the software. They took us off to a tournament the very next month in Southern California. My brother and I evaluated it for another 3 months, and then we decided to buy pickleballtournaments.com. And so I made then a very difficult decision to walk away from an almost 20-year corporate career in which I was doing very, very well for myself. To put everything that I had into pickleball. My mom thought I'd lost my mind. You know, she was seeking counsel for. She says, "You need to see a therapist."
No, I go.
So it was, yeah. So I go to my boss at American Express. And I keep in mind I got like 100 people working for me around the world, and I tell him what I want to do, and I couldn't been prepared for his response to me. He said, Melissa, he goes, I really want this to be successful for you. So he says, why don't you stay on part-time as a consultant for me, and I'll pay you your full-time salary. And
what a nice offer.
And I about fell out of my chair. Yeah. So for the first 3 years of my journey, I continued to support American Express in a way that helped me with a safety net, if you will. I could still pay my rent. I could still pay my bills and things like that, while I continued to grow pickleball through you know, tournaments with pickleballtournaments.com. So that first year in 2014.
That's incredible. I mean, I used to work for American Express, so I knew that they were a great company, but wow, that was an offer not to refuse, right?
Absolutely, it was. I mean, it gives me goosebumps to even think about it. You know, that was an offer, an opportunity for me. And you know, so it was great. It was hard. You know, I'm trying to support, you know, corporate and try to grow this booming business. We had 93 tournaments that year in 2014. 2015 we went up to 130. 2016 it was 250. 2017 400. 2018 600, and we finished with 750 tournaments last year. And we were, you know, projecting even more than that in 2020. Until COVID came along.
That's incredible growth.
It's unbelievable. And people, because when we started running tournaments, we were running a couple of hundred players on 8 courts, and that was in 2014. And then the U.S. Open came along, and the founders of the U.S. Open, Chris Evon and Terry Graham, who had left their corporate careers as well from Wilson, we had gotten connected, and I spent about a year consulting with them before we went into the first U.S. Open. And the first U.S. Open occurred in 2016, and it was the largest tournament to ever occur at that time, with 800 players. And before that, I'd been running, you know, 200, maybe 400, you know, player tournaments. And so what I learned through that, so like with in nationals, then it was nationals tournament started following the same type of growth. But the first year 800 players, the next year 1,200 players, and then a year after that over 2,200 players. That's the growth these tournaments were seeing, and you know, hopefully are still seeing once we are able to come back. And we were expecting 3,000 people to participate this year in the U.S. Open, and close to that for, you know, with the national tournament as well. But one of the things that I learned in running these tournaments is key critical things that if you guys are interested in running, I know Karen, you were getting ready to run a pretty big one yourself in 700 players. There's some important things that you really need to know. You've got to have a tournament director that knows how to lead. And then they need to know how to have people around them to help them be successful in their planning, their preparation, their organization, you know, what tools they're going to use, what processes and policies and procedures that they're going to use, what resources do they need, what volunteers do they need, what about their venue, you know, what about hospitality, what about marketing, what about sponsors, what about vendors. There's all these things that, you know, have to be considered when you're thinking about a success of an actual tournament. But what I learned is that the policies and the processes and procedures, no matter how small the tournament, those policies and procedures scale to a larger tournament. You just need more people to execute them. And so that was something that I was able to prove out. And I remember people asking me, Melissa, are you nervous about getting ready to run a 2,000 player tournament? And I remember thinking, no, should I be? Is there something that I'm missing? And so anyhow, once we, ran through it and everything worked, I know that there were some of the folks that come from the UK, Claire Bell and Sheena McLean. They had come over to the US Open and they wanted to see what we were doing behind the scenes and running the tournament. And I said, come on in. In fact, I do more tours at the US Open and at Nationals, showing people what we're doing back there to run such a big event, because they're like, we don't know how you guys are doing this. We go to a tournament of 100 people, 200 people, and we're waiting all day to play. I mean, you guys are running all these, thousands of people, and you're just knocking these, courts right out. So they came through and they couldn't believe what they saw. They're like, this reminds me of like a surgery room. It's like where everybody's like executing with clinical precision, and it's quiet, right? It's quiet and it's not chaotic, and everybody knows their roles, and there's a process to follow, and it just goes like clockwork. So, so those are some of the important things. You can't get away from planning and preparation when it comes to, running a tournament. You can guarantee, and once you get to a tournament, as long as you've done all that proper planning and preparation and that sort, once you get to the tournament, that's when it's time to have fun.
Yeah.
That's when it's a good time. And, I know many of you, I recognize, I know Sarah has, I know Elaine has, Karen, have all put on tournaments. So you know how important that is, and how important the team around you is, because you can only be as good as the team around you to help you be successful. So favorite tournaments, that was one of the questions, and this is always a tough one to answer because they're all my favorite, right? But for me, yes, they are, and they all have different. I traveled. That was another question: how many miles I've traveled doing tournaments? Some 180,000 miles is what I estimate. I've traveled, around from Canada to Spain, and then all throughout the U.S. Running tournaments. So all of them have little things that I could pick out, but for me, the bigger the better. And so the national tournament, the US Open tournament, the regional tournaments that I got to do with Karen, I mean, her tournaments would double in size each year. So I'm like, so we had an opportunity to really learn and grow together. And so, but they're all special in the sense that everything that we do in the tournaments has an effect on the player experience, on the volunteer experience, the staff experience. And so if we're not doing the job that we're doing by running brackets, keeping courts full, all that experience that people put around it just doesn't really matter as much. So it all has to come together for everybody to really have a good time when we go into a pickleball tournament. And so like Nationals and US Open, I call those my Super Bowl, right? So, we have all these professional players that are playing out here. And it's really important what we're doing behind the scenes. It's like we're professionals in running tournaments, and these are our big stages as well. And so we've got lots of moving parts that we have going on. Not only are you keeping all your amateur events going, but now we're dealing with TV, right? And live streams and schedules. And as you guys know, once a bracket starts in pickleball, that's not timed, right? And so, they're all moving. We might be running 40 brackets at the same time. While I've got, hey, ESPN wants to know who's on center court next, right? And so we're keeping all of those types of things going. But we've got about 5 years, experience now working with television and schedules, and able to, based on bracket size and all, really pinpoint when we can actually put those matches on court and get the very best matches that we can, so that people around the world can see the best that pickleball has to offer. So structure, I'll kind of end with that. Structure is important to me. I know, Karen, this was one of your other questions as well. I did join the military outside of high school. And so when I joined the Navy, I was in the hospital corps, which is like a licensed practitioner nursing on the outside world. At the time, I needed money for school. and I thought I wanted to be a nurse or doctor. So so the military gave me a lot of structure. I was kind of born with it too. My mom said I was bossy as soon as I was, given at birth. And I continue to be bossy today. So my nickname here in the States is Boss Lady. And so I wear it well. So my mother now my mother goes around tournaments and helps me too. She's phenomenal, and she now has a new hat herself. Hers says Boss Lady's Boss. So, so the military has given me structure. The corporate career has given me not only structure, but it's given me the understanding of delivering services to the best of your capability, delivering a customer experience that's very positive, and developing visions and strategies to be able to move forward as things grow, and pickleball grows at lightning speed. So anyway, and it's really a pleasure to be here with all of you guys to be able to share that story.
Thank you.
Honestly, Melissa, we are an emerging market in Ireland, and you were so good to us. You were like, emerging markets are what I want to talk about with you, because we wouldn't have a plethora of volunteers and corporate background and all of that sort of stuff. So when you came into the Dublin Open and helped me do that, it was amazing, because we don't have the infrastructure that you have in America. We don't have a billion people sitting by waiting to do a job. So you were amazing for me when, I don't know if you remember me, but
I do.
You were amazing for us in the Dublin Open, because bam, we don't have what you have. And that's what I want to talk to you about. How do you motivate people that aren't, like, we aren't pickleball friendly here yet? How do you get people involved that haven't done this before? And we wouldn't have a plethora of people that have corporate backgrounds, and like, we're gonna piddle along until we get people like, it doesn't have to be you, Melissa. It has to be people that love pickleball and want to help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
well, I'll touch on this a little. I'm sorry, Debbie, go ahead.
I'm just saying, we don't have that here. We're an emerging market. Karen has way more infrastructure behind her, but we don't. So I might step aside saying, thank you so much for the Dublin Open help, but I might defer to Karen and let you sort of help the people that do have the infrastructure already in place, because England is doing it way better than we are. But I'm going to sit by and listen, because we're the next emerging market. But thank you, Melissa, for what you did for the Dublin Open. You set us up for free, by the way, and sent us Lucy Kitcher, and we had a great time, right? Didn't we, Robert?
We did, yes.
We did. We did.
I loved it.
Yeah, and Debbie, what you did was you put yourself out there without having the experience and potentially having all the volunteers. You actually went for it and did it, and people had a great time, So,
next steps.
And you had the plan B.
Yeah.
Next steps. Like, we have to be the Dublin Open next year, and I want to do it, but I'm not a like a tournament director. So do we get people over from America and pay them to, like, Lucy Kitcher came over and did it for us?
Because she's familiar with software, she knew what to do. She runs her own tournament, so she was brilliant, right?
But she was brilliant on the side of me scrambling to get things out there on the court and all the things we needed. So she ended up doing a lot of stuff by herself. What needed to happen is for me, while I'm here, to learn what she knows, and Melissa, like McCurley, on the side going boom, 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 boom. This is, she did it all for us. And then Lucy came over and did it for us. We need to coach people to learn how to do that stuff. I should have been aside watching every step of the way, when I was out there putting balls on the court, making sure the nets were out there, all that sort of the basics. And I wish I would have followed Lucy and Melissa's cues all along. But again, we are an emerging market. We're tiny. So we will follow the lead of Karen Mitchell and English squash, not English squash. I'm also a squash coach. We'll follow you for English pickleball. We look at all your, Karen, we look at all your re-entry into COVID and all that stuff, because we do not have a governing body. So we look to you. You're in Europe. We can't do what America does. We look to you, but we also need, we'll look to Melissa. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for what you did. And we will have a Dublin Open again. And we basically need help. We will need help. And we'll look to Karen. Karen and I will get together and learn how to do all this. But thank you, Melissa.
Yeah. You were awesome too.
Let me make a quick suggestion. I know for like our regionals, our nationals and stuff like that, we do what's called a responsibility matrix. So you're going to sit there and you're going to list absolutely everything that you need at a tournament, from pens and papers on the tournament desk to balls to who's going to be helping getting the medals and who are you going to contact to purchase your medals. I mean, it's a huge responsibility matrix. And then you go out and you surround yourself with that team. You start having these weekly meetings a year ahead of your tournament, right? Like Melissa reminded me about the 7 Ps, and I'll let her tell you about the 7 Ps in a second. But it's very, I mean, it's genius if you think about it. It's very simple, but it's very to the point. And if you follow those 7 Ps and you put together your responsibility matrix and you surround yourself with a team, it's going to come out like clockwork. So I have no doubt that when you say that you're growing, you're going to look back at this and be like, oh my God, what happened? Where'd all these people come from?
It's a people business.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Get the people. We just have to get the people.
Do you have, what is your age demographic there that you have playing? Is it seniors? Is it 30s and 40s? What is it?
I would say it's upwards of 40.
Okay, so you don't have like the 20, 30-year-olds, not many of them
No.
playing?
No.
Okay.
No.
So that's one thing right there is we've got to get them involved. And that was the way it was for pickleball here for a while. It was like, oh, that's just a senior sport, don't worry about it. Well, now you're seeing like these kids like Anna Lee or William Sobek or these 20 and 30-year-olds that are coming over either playing squash, tennis, ping pong, whatever, and they've gotten involved. Not to say they're not doing what they normally do in their other racket sport backgrounds, but once you get them in and get them started, it's incredible. Like, some people don't even realize that pickleball is an accredited sport in some colleges in the United States now. So I would say within the next 5 years, it wouldn't surprise me if it was an NCAA sport. I mean, that's how it's growing. So keep the faith. It's going to happen. When it does, again, you're going to look back and be like, holy cow, I need 5 Melissas over here.
Well, here's the thing. I'm in Dublin in Ireland. And I am in my first school, and then COVID came. I will be back, but I can't coach every single class. So I need to be nurturing people along to help me. And we're so small, I don't have but 2 or 3 people to help me.
Have an ambassador? Do you have ambassadors there?
Pardon me?
Do you have ambassadors there? Like what we have here in the U.S., we have pickleball ambassadors. So that might be something that you could start there as an ambassador program.
Aren't you an ambassador for the IFP, Debbie?
I am. And I'm an American in Ireland, okay? I want Irish people to be ambassadors. And so, yes, I'm getting my mixed doubles partner because he's very good. And I have some other people, but they don't have a skill set to coach. I'm a full-time coach. I coach tennis, paddle, pickleball, and squash. I'm busy. And so what I have to do is set aside time to coach people to coach, because you have to have a voice to coach. You have to know how to coach. And there's not a lot of that in Ireland. We're only a small country. And so I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them along the line. And it's a slow process. Listen, we're emerging, but I will tell you, Ireland is set to blow up for pickleball. This is a badminton savvy country. Every sports hall has lines, and I might talk to Melissa or you in another time, but I need to take people from badminton to pickleball on the same court, and teach them how to coach it, teach them how to promote it, all of that stuff. We're emerging, but every sports hall here has badminton. It's, you lay down a court, you throw out some paddles, and bam, you're done. So it's too slow for me because I'm one person.
But Debbie, that's where we
Karen,
all
what are
were.
you laughing about?
That's where we all started. So you're following the right path, and obviously the way to go is really to recruit some key people around you who will help and support you in that. And I mean, this is literally where I brought the game to the northwest. There were only 3 clubs in England at the time from Thailand, and I come back to England and I couldn't play. There was nowhere to play. So we started in one place, and then we got to another one, and I recruited a few people. And you know, you're in the right place. You're keen, and you're wanting to grow, and you've got contact and support from the right people. So don't be demoralised by it. Just keep going. Just keep that head down and keep going. You're doing a good job.
I will. I
I'm happy
will.
to talk to you anytime as well to help, Debbie. So
Thank you, Karen. You and I need to talk a bunch more. We have another thing where there's 2 opposing groups that want to be the governing body, but we need grassroots before we have a governing body. It's terrible. That part of it I hate.
I think I figured that out from over here.
What?
I said, I found that interesting from over here. But speaking of the Dublin Open, Debbie, I want to tell you, we're ready to bring a group over and to join you when you're ready to have it. And whatever we can do to support you, we're coming over.
That's it. Hey, we will welcome anybody coming over. We have facilities. We have players. We have, lots of players. But what they need is motivation.
Melissa, that sounds like a road trip for you and
That's
me.
what I was
Melissa. Melissa.
Yeah, it's time to
actually,
go.
Melissa, it's in a really nice area outside Dublin, actually. So if you were looking for somewhere for your summer holidays, it's actually a lovely place to visit. Really lovely.
And you are a McCurley, aren't you?
I
Huh?
am. Yeah.
Curly, get your ass over here.
Yeah. Is one of the things, and I would like to talk to Karen, Karen Parrish and Karen Mitchell, Debbie, you as well. I mean, Karen Parrish has supported me since April when we've had this COVID going on. We've had time on our hands. In fact, I haven't traveled in 4.5 months, which has been amazing. So we've been doing knowledge share sessions, 1 hour to an hour and a half, one time a week for 4 weeks, carrying people through tournament management and planning and executing tournaments as well. But we could expand those knowledge share sessions into other requirements that you guys have, like grassroots growing of pickleball, and just share some of the success stories. We were very fortunate here in the U.S. that baby boomers who were aging into retirement are the ones who have exploded the game in the U.S. and have used their skill and talents from their working worlds to really grow the game. And now they're using some of those talents to put focus in colleges and youth programs and things like that. So I don't know what your baby boomer situation is, but certainly
I'm a baby boomer.
you're a baby boomer.
I'm a baby boomer, yeah.
baby boomer is huge here in the U.S. and I would think probably likewise around the world. It's just just finding them, and once you find them, they grab on and will do amazing things. So, but if you guys are interested in some kind of knowledge share session, that's what I call them. I like to keep them short, just an hour, not too much longer than that, because we as humans just disengage, our brains after that much time. And we could collaborate, like from grassroots programs, if that's what you want. We could come up with a list of topics that would be helpful to you guys and share that way.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
That'd be great. I'm just thinking so we maybe the board of the World Pickleball Federation can join those sessions, Melissa. So we have a board now that represents Europe in pickleball. So I think all the countries in Europe would benefit from that. So I know my friends in Italy, they organize tournaments and they need help sometimes. They all like into tennis. They teach other sports, but they're aware the pickleball is different. The age groups is different. The courts availability is different. So they need to tailor the coaching and the tournament processes and policy and procedures you mentioned to pickleball, which is another job. So I think it'd be good to extend those sessions if you can to to the countries in Europe, and I think we'll greatly appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think
sorry.
Go ahead, Karen.
I want to do a shout out for Melissa, actually, in terms of her software. I've used it twice now. Obviously, I only used it once properly, but got all the registrations in a second time as well. It actually, I didn't have any training in it. It's quite intuitive to use, and actually has got a lot of helpful information on it as well. There are lots of cheat sheet type things on the software. So, but again, it does require a bit of time. So if you're time poor, Debbie, that isn't really helpful, but maybe an hour's session on a knowledge share would be, really helpful for you.
That's great.
I would definitely be interested in the knowledge share. And Karen, I have to tell you that I just didn't pick up the pt.com as well as you did, but I'm getting better. And this is a good lead in because now you can become certified pickleball tournaments person. And I can't wait to do it. I'm just waiting for the time, Melissa, because I want to get my certificate. I'm definitely going to hang that up proudly if I ever pass.
That's great. That's great to have a course that you could do for pickleball tournaments.
Yeah,
like how to do them.
We launched one in partnership with the Professional Pickleball Registry on May the 7th, and it is a certification to become certified as a registration manager and tournament desk operator. So anyone who's interested, you can go to our website and click under tournament directors, and you can see more information about that. You can go to ppr.org as well to see more information, or you can certainly reach out to me and I will give you all the information that you want.
I got my certificate. I'm super stoked.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Karen, can I ask, do you have a job as well as what you do for the USA Pickleball and the Nationals and everything? Or did you take early retirement?
Yeah, so with my job, I'm over tournaments, sanctioning, officiating, equipment standards.
Oh, that's a full-time job in itself.
It's a lot. So,
yeah. Is it voluntary?
No.
Okay.
If I had to volunteer for that, I'd probably hang myself.
Right.
The equipment standards is a very, very difficult position, and I admire you. I know you took over after Christine, and I had my first paddle registered in 2016, and shortly after they completely changed. They did a complete overhaul of equipment standards. And Karen, I admire you because I know you hear it from all sides. And since 2016, the size where they're triple the number of companies now that manufacture paddles. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, it's a great journey, especially with the equipment standards. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff we get in and we're like, no. But some of them are like, okay, this could be a game changer. And it's not just the paddles, it's the balls. Balls are starting to become, very interesting. Some of the ones that we get in and we're like, no, we have standards that you have to stick by. But, you hear of the main ones out there. It's either the Onyx or the Franklin ball, right? So for years, like when I first started, it was the green jugs ball. That's what everybody played with because I played indoors. And then when you played outdoors, then you had the Onyx Fuse. So now you're starting to see all these other ones, like Gamma has a ball, Head's coming out with a ball, and Engage has a ball. And it's a lot of fun to see all these people to sit there and say, you know what? I can do this. I can pass and put this product out there, because here's the thing. People are going to decide what they want to play with, right? So if you are creative and you want to put something out there, and let's say it's just for a recreational play, you can do that. Now, when it comes to sanctioning for play for sanctioned tournaments or something like that, then yes, it has to follow certain guidelines. We just updated our guidelines for our paddles and our ball certification, and it was pretty intense working with the lab and all of that. And it was fun to sit there and watch the whole entire process of what the paddle and the ball goes through to be approved. Unfortunately, we didn't have the opportunity to see it in person. We got to see it via a Zoom call like this. But once we get back to regular operations, I guess you could say, at our larger tournaments, let's say our nationals or whatever, they'll be there. And you'll have that opportunity to see what it takes for a paddle to be certified or a ball to pass certification. So it's interesting. It's a lot of fun.
Now that would be
agree
a
with you.
Zoom call to join.
It really is. The lab is actually located here in Maryland, about an hour north of Annapolis. And they also test other sports equipment, bats, helmets, things like that, and guns. They're very, very good at what they do and very sophisticated. You'd be quite impressed. You would think all this to test the pickleball paddle, but certainly it's to make sure that no one has an advantage, like no one paddle has a trampoline effect and what have you. So you can tell I love manufacturing.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's very interesting.
Well, and Karen Parrish is doing a tremendous job as the director of competition. And so, I mean, we have to, I have to, but I worry about her sometimes because the lady, she'll answer your phone if she's even taking a shower. I mean, she's not going to miss a call. She works around the clock.
I promise it's not FaceTime though.
It's dedicated though. That is dedicated.
Every call is important, even if it's just a quick question, when it comes to, where do I find this on a website to, when is the next tournament going to be held here? Is it going to be canceled because of COVID? I mean, every call is important to them. It may not rank on the scale of, we've got to get this paddle passed right now. It could be a very simple thing like I can't find my email, but to them, that ranks on that higher scale. So if you can be available to them, which I give Melissa and them and her team kudos, because I can reach out to them anytime and they are always there. So customer service should always be your first priority when it comes to throwing a tournament, period. Everything else will fall into place. But if your players, which are your customers, right? Your spectators, fans, whoever are your customers, if you're able to take care of them because you've done all the hard work, P.S. in the meantime, on the front end, you've just won your gold medal, like Melissa said.
So Karen mentioned the 7 Ps. Has anyone on this call heard of the 7 Ps before?
No.
No.
I've heard of them in marketing, but I remember there were 4 Ps, not 7.
Yeah, different in marketing. So Sharpen your pencils for this one, or
Okay.
you can Google it as well. But here we go. The 7 P's, they stand for prior planning and preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
So those are some P's to live by in all aspects, many aspects of our lives. Sorry for those of you that are spontaneous. I know planning can be boring sometimes, but sometimes it's necessary.
I will say this, whenever you're doing a tournament and you're getting ready for it, it's stressful. Trust me, I know, have you covered all the bases, or is the swag bag give stuff in? But once that tournament starts, you really got to have fun. You got your people in place. You got to do what you got to do. And I have fun. I'm not going to lie. And Melissa will tell you, at Nationals last year, every morning I came up with a Snapchat and I sent it out to the team there. And it was just a fun little quick video of what was going to happen for the day. And it's just something to start off your day. Like, put that smile on your face, get that day started right, and have fun. So, whatever it is, it's contagious. Just have fun.
And tell us about the move to Indian Wells and how that happened. How did you secure a location like that for the Nationals?
Well, I was talking with Melissa about it because this happened prior to me getting into this position. Indian Wells is like considered the 5th Grand Slam at this facility. For those of you who have not been there, I can't even begin to tell you. When I first stepped foot in there, it was unbelievable. Well, our contract was up with Casa Grande, Palm Creek and Casa Grande, and they'd done it for so many years. Well, not only that, but we'd really outgrown that facility, and we knew it. And Fred Hartzman, who happened to be a pickleball player there in Palm Desert, I believe had a conversation with Justin and was like, we're thinking about doing a regional tournament here, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And it's like, what if we take it to the next level and do nationals? It just blew up. I mean, I cannot say enough about the Desert Champions team. And
Trina, there's somebody at the door, love.
It's unbelievable what they did. I mean, you're talking about people coming from the tennis world and looking at all these pickleball people, and they're like, oh my God, we had no idea. Now, granted, they have 20,000 people there when they, people are coming to see Federer and Nadal, but they had no idea about the pickleball scene. And they were so excited. They were even more excited for this year to happen because we had some great plans in order. And, we're going to keep those plans for next year. So we'll just, I hope to see each and every one of you guys there next year. It's going to be so much fun.
Well, Karen, it's my 60th birthday this year, and I planned to go from the Texas Open and do a road trip and come to the Nationals because it's a week before my birthday. So I was doing 6 weeks of or at least I was going to do 6 weeks of traveling. I'm not anymore, but that was my plan.
Are you going to be at the Texas Open?
Sorry?
Are you going to be at the Texas Open?
No, I'm not now. No.
Summer, I'm going to be there. I would have looked you up there. But it's a hard decision, with some of these tournaments having to cancel or, it's been an unbelievable year for a lot of people. For some people, it's their fundraiser for the year.
I know.
Yeah. So stay positive.
Actually, and so saying, Melissa, I know we were going to have our tournament we canceled, and we still owe pickleball tournament something, and I would really like to pay you and offer you help in any way I can, because I'm sure it's been difficult for you.
Well, we did go from running some 50s tournaments a month to like 0, and there's still some tournaments running. I think we had 10 last month, 14 this month, and we'll see what happens for next month. But yeah, and Debbie, for tournaments that were canceled, we're not charging anybody anything for those that had to cancel. So that's probably why you haven't seen anything.
Can I ask a quick question, Melissa? What's the
Yes.
smallest tournament you'll run on pickleball tournaments?
Geez, I mean, we've seen as small as 50, tournaments, because, keep in mind, we have an online tournament management system that people can subscribe to, if you will, for a per player fee, and just use it as a tool to, run the tournament themselves. But then we also offer a full, service that if people want to subscribe to where they have us do it all for them, manage their registrations, do their brackets, do their schedules, and then come on site with all of our own computer equipment to run the tournament as well. So it really just depends on what you need. So a lot of the smaller tournaments, and really, even some larger tournaments as well, have people that know how to run tournaments, know how to use the software, understand their own processes and procedures, to be able to run it. And we help train where it's needed to do. We don't just train on use of the software. I like people to make sure that they understand what they're managing, if you will. It's, using a computer and just doing data entry is interesting. But if you don't understand what the data is you're entering, then the rest of it doesn't really matter. So anyway, so Keith, long answer to your question, but we see people running tournaments of down as few as 50, players up to 3,000 players.
Okay, I'm just curious. Like, I'm planning a small scramble here in our area for in August 15, but we're just doing. I'm at 30 right now. We're hoping to get at least 40 players, but our area is so rural and close that I have to do a scramble because I wouldn't be able to get enough teams coming in already partner up. So we'll use somebody local software that scrambles people and matches them according to the rating. But use your software to sign up for Atlantic Regionals and the New Brunswick Atlantics as well, which unfortunately both got canceled on me this year. So I was curious to see. I've seen other, I've seen Pickleball brackets. I've registered to them before for other local. Seems to be used a lot up here in Maine and New Hampshire area. Anyways, at least it seemed easy enough registering as a player through how it works. Of course, how big before eventually I'd love to get to the point where we're actually doing our own a bigger tournament here in our area. We're right on the border, and that's another one that kills me this year. With the border closed, I lost all my Canadian players. So that was a big hit for us. I mean, our tournament is just to raise funds to put paddles into the schools locally. So it's it's a small, meant to be a fun thing. But this year I had all the Canadian players that found out about it from last year, plus others that were excited of coming over. Anyway, so we're looking forward to next year. Hopefully we can do it. I'm still going to do it with the main side. It's coming up in a couple of weeks.
So let me give you a suggestion for when it comes to volunteers. Here in where I'm at in Florida, we have what's called Bright Future Scholarships. So kids who are getting ready, who are in high school trying to earn what they call scholarship hours, they cannot get paid, but they're putting in hours to try to get to go towards their scholarship dollars. Reach out to those kids, have them come in and help you at your tournament. Your court monitors, train them up to be referees. It didn't say that you have to be 30 years old to be a referee. Train them up to be referees. Train them on the tournament desk once you get them in there. And the next thing you know, you've got a core group of volunteers who are kids, right? And then they're going to start telling their friends like, oh my God, I just went and worked at this tournament and you're not going to believe it. And they're going to be inviting other people. So that's another great way to introduce people to the sport as well as get volunteers for your tournament.
That's a great suggestion. It's funny because I get requests all the time for community service work, volunteer at my job. I work for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So I always get people coming in, the students asking for projects and things they can do. I never thought about combining it with pickleball for this. But it's just my second year we did it last year. I had 30 players. It was great. We had a great fun, raised over $500. We turned it all into paddles for the schools. And now we got 5 schools hooked up to teach pickleball and PE. So I'm working on the next 5 schools, and is my way to do it. But no, I love the competition, and I'm a long ways to go to Southern Maine for regionals would have been a 4-hour drive one way. So it's like I'm in this corner and trying to dip into the Canadian side and the U.S. side here. We're in the middle, so I'm trying to play that. And so hopefully when the border opens, we can make it a little better. But.
Can I just add in to Karen's point there? I did similarly here in England with the Girl Guides. Like you use your students needing community service hours. I did the same with the Girl Guides, and they were superb at a couple of the events that we held. They became court monitors, and they were that good at doing the court monitor. We moved them onto the table for the, distributing the paddles and so on and so forth. We let them grow with the task. And by the end, at the end of the sort of 3 days, they weren't just court monitors anymore. They were doing other things. Of course, COVID comes along and it does stop a lot of things in its tracks, but we've just got to pick up on those things and then start to run with them again.
Have they got a badge they can earn then, Elaine?
It's like a community sports leadership badge. Right. I also did a couple of 2-hour sort of pickleball come leadership type sessions so that they could work with the brownies at a younger age group and things like that. And they have actually got community sports leadership sports packs, and I'm trying to get them to include 4 pickleball paddles as part of that community sports pack. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
It's just something else in the pipeline, but it just helps get the word out there a little bit.
Yeah. Roberta, you've got your hand raised. You want to say something?
Yes, I had a question for maybe for Karen. So essentially, I'm planning to come to the US next year, and I would love to participate in the nationals. So what's the criteria for Europeans for the tournament? So I have never played in a sanctioned tournament before. So are we allowed to register? Is there a criteria we need to sort of like adhere to participate? And how does it work for us Europeans?
Yeah, so yes, you can register. Pre-registration we offer to like our regional winners and national qualifiers and stuff like that. And we have an open lottery, but we also have waivers for overseas players that are coming in. And the way you guys are continuing to grow, it could be that the English Open, the Dublin Open, different countries like that. I'd have to work that with Melissa and the tournament team, but it could be if you're a gold medalist there, you could ensure that you get a registration to nationals as well. Next year is going to be crazy because we had just in regionals, I think we had 870 players that earned a pre-registration for nationals. Wow. And then next year, starting now through July of next year, they'll get an opportunity to get that same thing. So we let them keep that pre-registration, and if there are different players, it's going to be a full tournament, right? So what you would do is you would send in a request to me at kparrish@usapa or usapickleball.org, and I can keep a list of our overseas players. So basically what you would do is let me know the tournaments that you've played in and supported over there in your areas, so we can keep a running list of that.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to join.
I hope so.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Elaine, you're on mute.
Yeah, okay, you're right, I am on mute. May I ask another question about certainly the sponsorship side of a tournament or a major event? Because one of the things that I think we suffer from over here in Europe, yes, we're a growing area, and we've done very well in the short space of time, but it's very difficult to pull in sponsors for an event, and particularly because I don't think we have those almost pickleball household names like you have in America, your Cal Yates and so on and so forth. We don't have an awful lot of players with that sponsorship clout as such. And then also I'd be interested to know how you go about pulling in some sponsorship from companies outside of pickleball as well. So can you just enlighten me on that a little bit, please?
Sure. So over here, you know, we have Selkirk, Onyx, Engage, Paddle Tech, all of those, right? So we do reach out to them, or the tournament director will reach out to them and be like, you know, we'll be happy to, you know, hang your banner, promote you through all of our communications, all of that kind of stuff. Can you donate some paddles or a shirt or something like that? Going outside of that, we look at other sponsors. You could, like, for here locally, it's your restaurants. Over there, it might be your pubs. So what they did is we would hold a pre-tournament party at a specific restaurant and ask them if they would be one of our sponsors. So they gave us a discounted rate for our, but all of the players that attended would go to this pre-tournament party. So they garnered money there, right, by the players attending at a discounted rate, but they gave so much money to the tournament director to go towards the tournament. Probably the best sponsor I think I had as far as a tournament pre-party, and Melissa could attest to this, is we had a pre-tournament party for our regional tournament on a battleship. So
Wow.
It was you were able to come in. I worked it out with them, so I hired an outside company to come in and do a dinner inside their area, which you could see like all the different old time airplanes and warplanes and stuff like that. And with that, you got to go out and tour the submarine that was there and the battleship. And that was actually pretty cool. So you look at different things like that in your community that is going to draw people there and be like, hey, you know, as part of this, come be a part of this party or whatever. And you'll be able to go tour the battleship or whatever is in your area. But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds a great idea. Very creative. Very creative.
And there's some other ones too, and that was a wonderful experience, by the way. So if you ever find yourself in Mobile, Alabama, which is where this battleship is, it's fantastic to go visit and get some history, naval history. But I've seen some people, Elaine, also be successful getting sponsorships from some sources that maybe people may not think of. And a lot of times, at least here in the States, it's because of our demographic. So like insurance companies, financial institutions who are looking to target people if they are in their retirement and how to, you know, do financial planning and that type of thing. So, and a lot of these times, like Wells Fargo's, American Express's, you know, Charles Schwab's, will have some dollars that they're looking to spend with, but we don't often think of going and asking them if they would be interested in getting visibility to our pickleball demographic.
Okay, is there any one single secret that you think could unlock the door? And do these companies tend to want to donate, say, a product as opposed to finance, to money, to hard cash?
Yeah, the kind that I was just talking about want to give money. You know, the ones that are more involved with like pickleball business, they tend to want to give product.
Okay.
But others want to give money in return for exposure to their business. You know, I really don't have a secret sauce. It's a cold call. You know, it really is. It's a cold call asking to talk to somebody in their marketing department to understand where they might have some available advertising dollars. Your personality would be great for cold calls.
Thanks, Melissa. I appreciate that. It's great to have such confidence.
Yes.
Elaine, I just want to make mention is that I have gotten sponsorships for our local tournaments, and getting cash is pretty difficult, but you'll find that the paddle manufacturers, ball manufacturers will give you product. And what we've done is had a raffle, and we have it set up so that you take your ticket, which is also a gift to everybody who plays in the tournament and to people who volunteer, and you put your ticket by the prize that you would like, which they just did down in Virginia. Actually, I was playing there, Karen. So that does raise a lot of money. And we had a small tournament of 100 people, and we raised over $500. It's just a thought, but you can do things with product.
That's great. Yeah, good to know.
I mean, hey, it's amazing to me how generous a lot of, especially our pickleball companies are. I mean, even for me as doing a small tournament, last year I got Soul Creek sent me 6 hats, and Franklin donated balls for the tournament, and I had and it was crazy to me that the more the sport grow, they're gonna realize that there's more pressure on the company, more people asking. So I call, I email, I Facebook, I chat, and go, hey, if you can, anything I'll appreciate it. But I understand, especially this year's a tough year. So just making calls, and some don't respond at all, but others, this year I got Jigsaw Health samples coming for every player. I got Pickleball Central orange bags, which everybody has 1 million of them already. And I have a 10% raffle out, and they were like, just raffle however you want to raise your funds. And I got Franklin discounted the balls. So you know what? I got 4 sponsors. It's been harder for me actually with the local businesses, because they'll ask me for a 501c3 and ask for this and this. I'm like, so it's amazing how generous some of these companies are. And they're saying no. They get so much requests, I'm sure. So I'm just blessed and grateful for anything, even if it's just orange bags from Pickleball Central, because hey, give somebody to take one more for their collection. But anyways, just next time with calls and emails and chats and everything else, I figure the worst they can do is say no.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we have had a modicum of success with that, and that is always great, and we always appreciate anything at all that we can get. But that it needs somebody with some expertise and certainly some time, because that single element in the preparation to a tournament, for a person that's already quite involved and quite busy, is singly so time consuming. Exactly what you're saying there, because these sponsors need coaching, literally. They don't just need a begging letter. You need to really put the time in. But I just, as I say, I was just trying to wonder if there's anything I can glean that we could do a little different that eases the process. And yeah, I've got some great ideas from you guys there, so thanks for that. Very grateful.
And I had a question, maybe for you both. So I'm not sure if you can answer this question. So is there any changes that you can anticipate for next year tournament? Anything that we, let's say we are going to see if we come to the nationals that is different from the previous nationals?
Yes, actually there is, but it might be a secret.
That's what I'm trying. I'm very nosy. Sorry.
We are not going to tell anyone.
There will be some changes. I am not at liberty to say, because we weren't at the point where we could put it out this year, so I'm not really wanting to put out some of the changes that we were willing to do. But it was all going to be a much needed change and positive experience for everyone there. So I'm looking forward to that. So you just have to stay tuned.
I'll have to come and see.
Yes, you need to come and see.
Melissa, you obviously see all the tournaments that are set up. I'm sure you don't look at them all in detail, but have you got any idea what percentage of tournaments are double elimination versus round robin and other formats?
So of the 750 that I mentioned for us in 2019, is 75% of those are running double elimination.
Right.
Yeah. And you have some, Karen, that are a combination of both, right? Because depending on the participation, some of the brackets may not be large enough to do double elimination. So we use a rule of thumb here. I know things are very different in your side of the world. But if there's 6 teams or more, we'll run them double elimination. If there's under 6 teams, we'll run them in a round robin type format.
Right.
And the smaller the tournaments and the more courts you have, the more you can do, round robins and pool plays and play those into double elimination bracket plays to give people more play time. But as
The
those
debate we were
tournaments
having
grow-
over here is that, you know, a double elimination tournament could mean that you have 2 games and you're out, you know, whereas, you know, we tend to favor giving people a minimum number of games before they can be eliminated, you know. So hello,
Yeah.
Ramos.
Yes, look, we see a very cute little guy.
Yeah.
And Neil has had a mysterious lady like zoom behind him from time to time and wave.
Who is that
Yeah.
lady, Neil?
Sorry.
And the dog.
With all this COVID, I have so many video meetings between pickleball and work and everything else, and he loves coming over and just saying hi, why, waving. But he's my little pickleballer. He loves pickleball. He's 4. I got him one of those one-shot junior paddles that are only like 5 ounces, and he can swing it. So I plan on having him up to national someday.
Good.
And that was my daughter who was walking by earlier, but she doesn't play pickleball. And I said, if you can't play pickleball, you don't get here on this.
You know, invited.
Can I just ask a question?
Okay.
A little bit following the lines of Roberto, you know, very much intend to come over to the States next year and play, and really probably not the nationals. I'd love to just take part in a smaller sort of competition, as well as maybe do some rec play. Is there somewhere you ladies would suggest would be a good place to head for, you know, maybe 1 or 2 smaller competitions? And any thoughts?
Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want, it depends on how much time that you want to spend. I mean, in Arizona from January through March, and I'm not kidding, there is a tournament being played every weekend. And in the month of January, there's not even a break between tournament days from back to back to back events. And then the rec play that goes on there, they have a lot of city public courts that they have available for rec play, and some of the best play that you can get in the country. Especially in Surprise. I moved from Surprise a year and a half ago after being there 10 years. I now live on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. But that's a wonderful place to go. Another wonderful place to go is St. George, Utah. If you've never been there, they have a beautiful public facility with lots of rec play. They run a fantastic event in October that they call the Fall Brawl. And then there's just beautiful parks to see. It's the Red Rock Country of the U.S., and then it's a short 2.5-hour drive to Las Vegas for fun things that you may want to do there too. So, but if you just want to come for some tournament play, you don't want to, if you're coming, you want to come to the East Coast of the U.S. The Georgia area runs some great events as well, but they're not that small. I mean, they're like 700, 800 players that attend.
Yeah, I was just looking at somewhere where you could come to and definitely be able to enroll and play in 1 or 2 competitions, as well as then get a bit of rec play as well. And so.
Well, back to, so Arizona is your place anytime between January and March.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Susan, your hand's up. Did you want to ask a question?
One thing you should consider when you go to America, however, is, for example, the English and the Irish, the sun. You can't do it. So you have to go at a time of year that, like, you would melt if you went to Arizona in the summer. If you're you have to head to the climate where your people are from. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why you want to go January through March, and don't be afraid of the sun, because that's all you're going to see. You're not going to see any rain.
No, but like English and Irish wouldn't be able for the sun.
She's saying our complexions don't really do very well under the sun.
Sunscreen.
Neither does mine. I have an Irish complexion for sure, and but even January through March, I wouldn't get any kind of sunburn, playing out there, because the sun's just not intense enough. You're dealing with highs in the 60s. But throw some sunscreen on, you'll be fine. But don't, as Debbie says, don't go in the summer. I mean, it's 115, 116 degrees, and pickleball play at that temperature is not much fun.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Yes, well, I just had a comment. First of all, for Neil, as far as, wanting to come to the States, I would say look for a place that you want to visit anyway, and then look for tournaments, because like the East Coast, East Coast is going to be cheaper for you to fly to than it would be to the West Coast, obviously, because it's so much farther. But there are, around, like Melissa said, Hilton Head, Wilmington, North Carolina, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Georgia, all East Coast places. There are lots of things to see in those areas you might want to go to too. And one comment for Elaine and also for Keith about fundraising, because I spent my entire career fundraising for either nonprofits or a botanical garden and so forth. And I was able to raise $10,000 from first time ask for Mount Olive Pickle Company here because it happens to be in my county, and they had been supporting pickleball tournaments by just giving product. And I went in, asked them to give us money to help, resurface some tennis courts. I asked for 20,000, we got 10, but it was one call. It took me about 2 or 3 hours of research and so forth to do that, but wow. I got it and it worked out great. But as far as when you do go to whoever you talk to, be very enthusiastic, first of all. Be professional and respect their time. Ask for something specific. Don't just say, is there anything you can do to help us? Because they want to know, I need this much money, it's going to provide this, and make sure you sell them on the benefit it is to their company. Because we are expecting this many people, and they're retired professionals or their family people or whatever, tie them in somehow, their company, choose the companies you go to the kinds of people that play pickleball. If they're active, they're engaged, they're friendly, they're fun, and I would just suggest all of those things, but be respectful of their time and just ask for a meeting and do your homework, and you can get all kinds of stuff from other, ambassadors here in the States, or in your case, people, ask everybody, who can help you provide information for whatever proposal you're doing, and that'll get you a long way. So that's just from my experience.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Good advice, Susan. Thank you.
Great advice there, Susan.
So has anyone got any final questions for Melissa or Karen?
I do.
Tuomo does. Tuomo puts on a really good tournament in Finland, guys. So.
Yes, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry that I could join only a little bit late, but I have a question regarding tournament balls. We've been discussing with some players here in Finland. Obviously, in the emerging countries, there are a lot of players who are probably participating in their first tournament, and then in Europe, overall, most of the tournaments are indoors. So we are mostly using the jugs, which is a soft ball, easy for 2.5 players to play, 3.0 players to play, and so on. But when you are more advanced, some people here are now asking that how about using different balls for different levels? Like if you are a 4-5 or above, you could use, even when playing indoors, you could play with a Dura or Franklin or whatever outdoor ball, just to make the game more exciting and more challenging for the advanced players. And then for the newcomers who are playing their first tournaments, the seniors, they could play with a softer ball. Does that happen in any of the tournaments in the States?
Yes, and Sarah actually played in it at the Virginia Classic.
Okay, so it's nothing totally weird if you would announce as a tournament director that, okay, for the 4-0 and above, we are using this ball, and for 3-5s and below, we are using another ball. So that wouldn't be totally obscene.
No, I see it happen. Like, for instance, our pro players or our more experienced players playing outside, they prefer to play with either a Dura Fast 40 or a Franklin ball. one of those two, but say the 4-0, 3-5, 3-0 players, 65 and up, we'll say they like the Onyx, the fuse ball, because it's easier for them, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to the other one. So I see that starting to happen more and more now. So again, you're giving that option to your players if that's what you so choose to do. But yeah, I've seen it at a few tournaments here.
Okay, good. Yeah, because that would, like I said, that would give the more advanced players more challenge because they play with those balls anyway. And then for the newcomers and the people who are on the lower levels, they would get enough challenge by using the softer balls. But if they would have to use a fast ball, that the rallies would be serve, return, that's it, basically.
That's true.
And no one would have any fun. Okay.
We want everybody to have fun.
Okay, I'm happy with that. So
so we know what to expect at the next Finnish Open then.
Sorry? Sorry?
We know what to expect at the next Finnish Open then.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Actually, I made the decision already that in the next tournament I'll be organizing. We won't be using the jugs because I just played with the jugs today for a couple of games with the older people, and I thought, oh, this is just impossible because now we are only playing with outdoor balls even when we are playing indoors. So
is he in next year, Tuomo?
Sorry?
Is the tournament next year? Are you planning for next year?
Hopefully, yeah. Depends how things go. I'm hoping to organize a tournament later this year, just before Christmas. It would be the 4th one, but let's see how it goes. In Finland,
yes.
In Finland, luckily the situation is way better than many other countries.
I think Melissa and I could make a European tour.
I know. I'm ready to wrap it up.
If I could just give you
good idea.
Yes,
just
please
one
do.
final thought before we go is customer service is key. That should be your number one priority, is ensuring that everybody that steps foot on that property, but when they come in and when they leave, you know they've had a good time. So that includes your customer experience. Your players are your customers. So that's going to mean from the very beginning of signing up and registering from the tournament to the time they leave the medal stand, or the time they leave the bracket getting beat, 2 games. They only come in for 2 games, but give them that opportunity or that player experience. They're going to want to come back. And so all of that is part of those 7 Ps that Melissa talked about before. Planning and preparation. If you can follow through with all of that, that's going to be your gold medal and your key to success.
Yeah. Thank you. Have you got any final thoughts, Melissa?
Just a real pleasure to have the opportunity to be here with you guys. I've seen on Facebook other Zoom, sessions and that sort that you guys have had. So, everybody stay safe, stay healthy, stay well. Please, if there's anything that we can do, we don't have to come together in these Zoom sessions to help you with anything that you're involved in. Would always be happy to help. So those would be my parting comments.
Thank you very much for your time, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And this was recorded, so other European players will get a chance to view it. So your nuggets of information we shared far and wide, I promise.
Good.
Well, thank you so much for letting us be a part of your experience, and anything we can do to help, we're here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.